Hi, welcome to Boyko's Books. My name is Ryan Boyko. I am a classically trained actor, producer, director, and I'm an activist. And lately there have been a lot of things going on, specifically using books against people or to justify positions, most specifically this book. And so I've decided that I'm going to read it. Read it for the first time. So I'm inviting you to come along with me on the journey. As an actor, I am going to be simply reading it aloud. Occasionally, there might be some comments or thoughts that I'm having along the way. Just as it happens. I mean, I think of this sort of like a reading circle or a book club or something like that, where I'm going to be reading books that are important pieces of literature. I'll be reading it aloud, so it's a cold read. It's my first time reading things, so some of the words might be mispronounced. It might not be as clean or as clear as I'd like it to be. That said, if you want to see this kind of content, you want to hear what I've got to say as far as the Bible is concerned or any other classical literature texts, please like, share, subscribe. There's a little notification bell that you can push, and you can either have notifications once in a while, or you can set it to notify anytime I post. Yeah, so at this point, I think I've figured out a little bit of the structure of the Bible. You can see up to now we've done Genesis up to chapter 10. So if you haven't seen it, please go back and check out my other video. And that's the beginning of the Bible up to the end of Genesis 10. I'm not fully sure how to read it, because at the top of the page says Genesis 9:26, but it says chapter 10. Again, I'm reading it as somebody who's reading a book, not as a theologian, not as somebody who understands necessarily all of the pronunciations. So if there are pronunciations that I'm not doing right or that I've got completely wrong, please feel free to write those in the comments. Any assistance, especially with things where I stop and ask a question, if you can write in the comments if you know the answers, I would love to have a discussion about it as if you were here having a discussion with me. The other thing is, if you want to follow along with the whole thing, I'm going to try and title all of these videos so it's as clear as possible, but I'm also going to be wearing this outfit for the duration of the Bible. So if you want to skip ahead, skip to other chapters, look for the thumbnail that has this in it. So without further ado, I have to use these. It's a new thing for me. I've only had them for a couple months. It's weird. I went from being able to see perfectly my entire life to all of a sudden everything's fuzzy when I'm reading, and apparently I'm right on schedule. So let's go for it. This is the book of Genesis. It's labeled as 11, Tower of Babel. So if you can see that there, maybe there's a different way of labeling it than what I'm going to label it. So if you can help me out to understand that. I read through the preface, which you can look up as well, but it doesn't fully explain this. And I'm sure if you're a regular with this book, you know how this is. But I'm just going to call it Tower of Babel, Genesis 9:26, chapter 11, I think. Tower of Babel, 11. Now the whole earth had one language and one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. Then they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly." They had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. And then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth." But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And the Lord said, "Indeed, the people are one, and they all have one language, and this is what they begin to do. Now, nothing that they propose to do will be withheld from them. Come, let us go down and there confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech." So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of all the earth, and they ceased building the city. Therefore, its name is called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord scattered them abroad over all the face of all the earth. Shem's descendants. This is the genealogy of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begot Arphaxad 2 years after the flood. After he begot Arphaxad, I don't know. If you know how to pronounce that, just write it in the comments and I'll try and fix it next time. Shem lived 500 years and begot sons and daughters. Arphaxad lived 35 years and begot Shelah. After he begot Salah, Arphaxad lived for 400 years and 3 years and begot sons and daughters. Salah lived 30 years and begot Eber. After he begot Eber, Salah lived 403 years and begot sons and daughters. Eber lived 34 years and begot Peleg. After he begot Peleg, Eber lived 430 years and begot sons and daughters. Peleg lived 30 years and begot Reu. After he begot Reu, Peleg lived 209 years and begot sons and daughters. Reu lived 32 years and begot Serug. After he begot Serug, Reu lived 207 years and begot sons and daughters. Serug lived 30 years and begot Nahor. After he begot Nahor, Serug lived 200 years and begot sons and daughters. Nahor lived 29 years and begot Terah. After he begot Terah, Nahor lived 119 years and begot sons and daughters. Now Terah lived 70 years and begot Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. So here's a question that I've got for folks in the comments. My understanding is, it says this is the genealogy of Shem. And I've heard people talk before about how people used to live longer. Now my understanding of this is a family tree. Serug lived for 30 years and had Nahor. And because of Nahor, Serug lived for 200 years. So his descendants had children and his lineage lasted 200 years. That's my understanding of it. But when it comes with Noah, they talk about how long he actually lived and they changed the sentence structure. So it makes it a little bit confusing to me, almost as if he did live that entire time. I don't think that's the case, but I think that that's something that other people have argued. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that, because I don't really have an opinion. To me, it's just simply they're tracking people's lineage, the genealogy, who was who. It's essentially a well-detailed family tree. That's how I'm reading it as a first-time reader, but somebody who understands a little bit about the religion that uses this book as its source. So if you know better, please write it in the comments. Let's talk about it. This is the genealogy of Terah's descendants. This is the genealogy of Terah. Terah begot Adam, Nahor, and Haran. Haran begot Lot. And Haran died before his father Terah in his native land of Ur and of the Chaldeans. Then Abraham and Nahor took wives. The name of Abraham's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife, Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Iscah. But Sarai was barren. She had no child. And Terah took his son Abraham and his grandson Lot, the son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, his son Abram's wife, and they went out and they got them from Ur of the Chaldeans to go to the land of Canaan, and they came to Haran and dwelt there. So the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. So again, some of these names, I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with them if you're familiar with the Bible. I'm not familiar with the Bible. I know a lot of people say they read it daily. I don't understand that. Like, are you reading the passages or are you reading through the whole book? Let me know in the comments. But I apologize for any mispronunciations and anything that doesn't flow properly. This is my first time reading it, so as I said, it's a cold read. I'm just going through and I'm seeing the words for the first time and speaking them. Promises to Abram, 12. Now the Lord had said to Abram, "Get out of your country, from your family and from your father's house, to a land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse him who curses you, and in you all families of the earth shall be blessed." So Abram departed as the Lord had spoken to him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. Then Abram took Sarai, his wife, and Lot, his brother's son, and all their possessions that they had gathered, and the people whom they had acquired in Haran, and they departed to go to the land of Canaan. So they came to the land of Canaan. Abram passed through the land to the place of Shechem, as far as the terebinth tree of Moreh, and the Canaanites were then in the land. Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, "To your descendants I will give this land." And there he built an altar to the Lord who had appeared to him. And he moved from there to the mountain east of Bethel, and he pitched his tent with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. There he built an altar to the Lord and called on the name of the Lord. So Abram journeyed on, still toward the south. Abram in Egypt. Now there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down to Egypt to dwell there, for the famine was severe in the land. And it came to pass, when he was close to entering Egypt, that he said to Sarai, his wife, "Indeed, I know that you are a woman of beautiful countenance. Therefore, it will happen when the Egyptians see you that they will say, 'This is his wife,' and they will kill me, but they will let you live. Please say that you are my sister, that it may well be for me, that it may be well with me for your sake, and that I may live because of you." So it was when Abram came into Egypt, and the Egyptians saw the woman, that she was very beautiful. The princes and Pharaoh also saw her and commended her to the Pharaoh. And the woman was taken to Pharaoh's house. He treated Abram well for her sake. He had sheep, oxen, male donkeys, male and female servants, female donkeys and camels. But the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, "What is this that you have done to me? Why did you not tell me that she was your wife? Why did you say, 'She is my sister'? I might have taken her as my wife. Now, therefore, here is your wife. Take her and go away." So Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away with his wife and all that he had. Abram inherits Canaan. I believe it's Canaan, not Canaan. Canaan. Then Abram went up from Egypt, he and his wife, and all that he had, and Lot with him to the south. Abram was very rich in livestock, in silver, and in gold. And he went on his journey from the south as far as Bethel, to a place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai, to the place of the altar, which he had made there at first. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord. Lot also, who went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents. Now the land was not able to support them, that they might dwell together, for their possessions were so great that they could not dwell together. And there was a strife between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. The Canaanites and the Perizzites then dwelt in the land. So Abram said to Lot, "Please, let there be no strife between you and me, and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brethren. Is not the whole land before you? Please separate from me. If you take the left, then I will go to the right. Or if you go to the right, then I will go to the left." And Lot lifted his eyes and saw all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as you go toward Zoar. Then Lot chose for himself all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated from each other. Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the cities and the plain, and pitched his tents even as far as Sodom. But the men of Sodom were exceedingly wicked and sinful against the Lord. And the Lord said to Abram, after Lot had separated from him, "Lift your eyes now, and look from the place where you are, northward, southward, eastward, and westward. For all the land which you see I give to you and your descendants forever. And I will make your descendants as the dust of the earth, so that if a man could number the dust of the earth, then your descendants also could be numbered. Arise, walk in the land through its length and its width, for I give it to you." Then Abram moved his tent and went and dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and built an altar there to the Lord. Lot's captivity and rescue. And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel king of Shinar, Arioch king of Elisar, Chedorlaomer's king of Elam, and Tidal king of nations, that they may be made war of Bera king of Sodom, Bersha king of Gomorrah, Sinab king of Admah, Shemeber king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar. Again, forgive me about the pronunciation of these names. I'm not familiar with them, and they're written here, so I'm just trying to pronounce them. I'm hooked on phonics. All these joined together in the valley of Siddim, that is, the Salt Sea. 12 years they served Chedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year, Chedorlaomer and the kings that were with him came and attacked the Rephaim and Ashtaroth, Karanaim and Zuzim in Ham, the Emim in Shava Kirathaim. Wow. And the Horites in the mountain of Seir, and as El Paran, which is by the wilderness. Then they turned back and came to En Mishpat, that is Kadesh, and attacked all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites, who dwelt in Hazazon Tamar. And the king of Sodom, the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, and the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zor, went out and joined together in the battle of the valley of Siddim against Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, Tidal, king of nations, Amraphel, king of Shinir, and Arioch, king of Elasar, 4 kings against 5. Wow, that's a lot of kings. They're trying to explain a lot of people with titles. I think that's why that a lot of this stuff is really studied, because you kind of got to put out a map of who everybody is and determine who they are and how it fits. Sorry, my cat's running around. She's having a great time, thinks I'm talking to her, and just wants attention. Yeah, that was her. Now the valley of Siddim was full of asphalt pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled. Some fell there, and the remainder fled to the mountains. Then they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all of their provisions, and went their way. They also took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. Then one who had escaped came by and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt by the terebinth trees of the Mamre, the Amorite brother of Eshcol, the brother of Aner, and they were allies with Abram. Now, when Abram heard that his brother had been taken captive, he armed his 318 trained servants who were born in his house and went in pursuit as far as Dan. He divided his forces against them by night, and he and his servants attacked them and pursued them as far as Hobah, which is north of Damascus. So he brought back all the goods, and also brought back his brother Lot and his goods, as well as the women and the people. And the king of Sodom went to meet him at the valley of Sheba. That is the king's valley. Apparently it's important, as they're saying over here. After his return from the defeat of Chedorlaomer and the kings who were with him. That's quite the adventure. Abram and Malchizedek. Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was the priest of God Most High, and he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram, the God of Most High, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. And he gave him a tithe of all. Now the king of Sodom said to Abram, Give me your persons, and take the goods for yourself. But Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have raised my hand to the Lord God Most High, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will take nothing from a thread to a sandal strap, and that I will not take anything that is yours, lest you should say, I have made Abram rich. Except only what the young men have eaten, and a portion of the men who went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their portion. I don't know, can you hear the cats running around? They're having a great time. They're just enjoying themselves so much. I'm surprised neither of them have hopped up on my lap yet, but there they go. Number 15, God's covenant with Abram. After these things, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision, saying, Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your exceedingly great reward. But Abram said, Lord God, what will you give me? seeing I go childless, and the heir of my house is Eliezer of Damascus. Then Abram said, Look, you have given me no offspring. Indeed, one born in my house is my heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him, saying, This one shall not be your heir, but one who will come from your own body shall be your heir. Then he brought him outside and said, Now look toward the heaven and count the stars if you are able to number them. And he said to him, So shall your descendants be. And he believed in the Lord, and he accounted it to him in righteousness. Then he said to him, I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur to the Chaldeans to give you this land to inherit it. And he said, Lord God, how shall I know what I will inherit? So he said to him, Bring me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old female goat, and a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. Then he brought all of these to him and cut them into 2, down the middle, and placed each piece opposite the other. But he did not cut the birds in 2. And then the vultures came down on the carcasses. Abram drove them away. Now, when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and behold, horror and great darkness fell upon him. Then he said to Abram, Know certainly that your descendants will be strangers in a land that is not theirs, and will serve them, and they will afflict them for hundreds of years. And also the nation whom they serve I will judge afterward. They shall come out with great possessions. Now as for you, you shall go to your father's peace. You shall be buried at a good old age. But in the 4th generation they shall return here. For the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet complete. And it came to pass, when the sun went down and it was dark, that behold, there appeared a smoking oven and a burning torch that passed between those pieces. On the same day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, To your descendants I have given this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates. The Kenites and the Kenizzites and the Cadmonites, the Hittites and the Perizzites, the Rephaim, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. Wow. There's a lot of stuff that you would have to remember if you're trying to learn all of this by heart anyway. Well, we're going to leave it there. Next up is Hagar and Ishmael, which is number 16, but my cats are going wild and they're saying, hey, you gotta take a break. So we'll see you tomorrow. If there's anything that I'm saying wrong or mispronouncing, please feel free to let me know, and I will do my best to learn how to pronounce things properly. So thanks again. Share, like, subscribe, and we'll see you later.